What's up, everybody? I'm Mitch.
And I'm Dustin, and you're tuned in to the Fatman Podcast. Welcome.
So today we're going to do what we always do and start out with our veteran highlight. And today's veteran highlight is none other than Sergeant David Fernandez. He's been out for a couple years, but we just wanted to recognize his service and thank you for what you did.
Thank you for your service.
So today we have a very special guest from coming in from Scottsdale, Arizona. Scottsdale, correct?
Yep, Scottsdale.
All right, Scottsdale, Arizona, and he is a training and fitness coach and the founder of BioElite. And so we're excited to have him on here, Mr. Gianni Del Franco.
Yes,
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Did I say? I said your name right.
Gianni
right?
Del Franco. Yep, as Italian as you can sound it.
Hell yeah. So we'll start out. Can you give us a little background of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I've always been in the fitness and wellness space. I went for my undergrad at Arizona State University in exercise and wellness, and as soon as I finished that, I got an internship at a place called Exos. They do a lot of high performance sports. They also work with the military, and they run a lot of contracts with that. So people with their TSAC, which is a tactical strength coaching certification, it's a very strong industry for Exos. So I got a lot of background in high-end athletics, in working with military. We did a Wounded Warriors project. We had about 50 vets come up, awesome. And we did just a little bit of service work with them. And then when I was hired on by Exos, I worked in their corporate side. So a lot of what I started doing was taking people from pain, from physical therapy, because everyone's mousing and on keyboards and stuff like that. They'd have to go to physical therapy. They'd get better or whatever their insurance would pay for. And then they would still have pain, but they were cleared from physical therapy. And it didn't make sense. So I got really good at helping people in that middle ground get out of pain, back to their performance, whether it was being a father or running a triathlon, whatever it was in their respect of the term, we were able to get them there. So we started BioElite awesome. After I left. It was like about 3 years that I was working with Exos and separated off, started BioElite, and that was in 2018. So it's been a while. It's what, 7 years?
That's awesome. That sounds like so you said that you had mentioned tactical strength training. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called H2F, holistic health and fitness through the Army National Guard. Last year was it? I worked with a tactical strength coach down there at Camp Atterbury, Indiana, and they were phenomenal. Like
nice.
Honestly,
yeah.
It changed our thoughts on fitness, and since we've implemented their stuff, we've probably had 20% gains and stuff. So it was just it helps having people that know what they're doing to give us a little instruction. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's what they're like
I think
TSAC. If anyone's in military, if anyone helps out the police or firefighters, anyone that's in service, period, I would want them to have the TSAC, because it's just a foundational certification that you have to have a degree for in order to even get. So you have to have some baseline knowledge before even trying to apply for the test. It's the same thing with another certification called the CSCS, certification as a strength conditioning coach. So you become a specialist in that area. So anyone that works with professional athletes, you'll see a CSCS behind their name because of that same reason. But that's people cool. that have their TSAC, great strength coaches is what I've found.
One thing that I've served in the Army National Guard for 16 and a half years. He did 10 years. And until I did that class, I never even thought about this, but they drove it into us that we're tactical athletes. And whenever you really think about what service members do, I mean, it's a different kind of athleticism, but
athletes nonetheless.
It definitely changed my perspective a little bit on what we do, because I'm not in a combat MOS at all. I'm a chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and high yield explosive specialist. Sounds fancy, but we are glorified car washers. But so I'm not in a physically demanding job per se, and so I never really connected my service to athleticism. But no, going to that class was really amazing, and it changed our whole perspective.
I was gonna say they probably talk to you about, like, even if you're not as in a physically demanding job in the military, there is all the mental performance sides of that. So being an athlete in general, like I talk about being the everyday athlete, you have your mental performance, you have your physical performance, and then I also add a third one, your emotional performance. Are you able to handle or have the resilience or grit to deal with the stuff that comes at you day to day? So we talk about like 3 different pillars of performance that are really important, but people don't think they're an athlete just because they didn't kick a soccer ball or throw a football. It's not what it means.
Yeah. Well, and for me, like so when I was younger, I was in I was a gymnast. I did gymnastics for 12 years, and then I got out, and of that, whenever I became an adult, and then joined the military. But outside of that, I never really, like in my adult life, I got really fat, so I never really did a lot of physically demanding things until probably recently. Outside of my service with the military, every single year I would gain a whole bunch of weight, and then I'd lose weight just in time to take my PT test. But outside of that, I've never been a real physically fit guy, and I had a point with that. I lost my train of thought. I apologize, but no, just it definitely changed my perspective on my service. But what initially got your interest into what you do? What drove you to do what you're doing, and then what is the most rewarding part about your job?
So the first part, what initially got me into it, I was honestly obsessed with bodybuilding when I was younger. Like in high school, I decided to start exercising and lifting. But when I was younger, I had a lot of body composition problems, like how I viewed myself. And it was one of the things that I swore that it would never happen again. I was 5'3" when I was a freshman in high school, and I was about 160 pounds. So not a good combination, and it was not muscle. But when I decided to start exercising, I went ham, and I didn't realize how much my height would have an effect on my body's physical changes, like how fat I was. And when I got taller, it's like it redispersed, because I started lifting, I started doing more cardio, I started doing everything I needed, cleaning up my diet when I was 15. So got to 5'10", so grew 7 inches. It's like the fat turned into muscle. I wasn't super lean still, but it looked much more proportionate. And I was like, I could do something with this. And then I heard about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was like, oh, I could really do something with this. And then I realized there were drugs involved, and I was like, I don't think I could do this. So I went from wanting to do bodybuilding, and then I always became very interested in the extreme side of things. So when I chose to go to Exos for my internship, is because I knew that they knew how to increase muscle the fastest, decrease fat mass the fastest, increase strength and power the fastest, and develop someone to this maximal capacity in as short of a time frame as possible. And if you could do that with an athlete, you could do it with anybody. And then you can also take a look at the spectrum. How intense does someone want that to happen? And then you can see where they lie. How long are they looking for? So nowadays you see these time horizons of 8-week challenges and all these massive promises of dropping 20 to 30 pounds in 8 weeks. And it's okay, is it possible? Absolutely.
Abs in 10 days.
Yeah, exactly. Just wear the sweat belt. But it's right? So there are all these challenges and stuff now where it's technically, yes, you can do that. But after being in that situation and learning about how to do it, I also know the side effects of it. I know how bad it can be for the system. And I want you to think about the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes a long time to develop it. I like the inverse as well. The faster something's built, the faster it falls. The faster you lose fat, the easier it is to bring it back on. The faster you build muscle, the easier it is to lose. The faster you gain strength, the quicker you can get injured. All of that is still the same in everything that we do.
Yeah.
That was the story of my life, because like I said, every year I would gain a whole bunch of weight because I would just stop caring after I passed my PT test. I don't have to worry about it. and then I'd gain a whole bunch of weight, but then I was always able to lose it really quick. And like 5 weeks out from my PT test, I would just hit it balls to the wall, give everything I had, and I'd cut down to where I needed to be, and I'd be fine. But it came back. Each time it came back faster and faster and faster. And I do think that one thing, at least I've been guilty of, is where you were talking how they have all those challenges, and people hear you can do this in 30 days. Well, they equate short time with easy too. Like that. It's just that easy. 30 days, easy. Well, you don't think about, well, if you want to do that, you
30
really,
days or for years.
Yeah, balls to the wall
Yeah.
for that 30 days. Well, is that sustainable? You know, and
It's brutal.
This is the first time that, and this is the first time that we've actually we've just been consistency really makes a big difference. Is what I found is be consistent, find something that's sustainable and consistent, and you're going to be better off than trying to do those crazy fad things.
Well, I tell people all the time, and the whole Rome wasn't built in a day thing. I tell people, like in my case, it took you a long time to get fat. I mean, it didn't just happen overnight. You didn't go from like 171 pounds to 280 pounds in 3 days. It took, a year, 2 years, however long. So it's going to take that, be patient with your progress. People expect to just jump in the gym, and I saw a video a while back. It was funny. It was this little kid. He probably maybe his best, and he was on the chunky side, and he was in the gym, and he did like 10 crunches, and he got up and pulled his shirt up and was looking in the mirror, and he was like, "Why don't I have abs yet?" And he was getting all mad, and it was hilarious. It was the cutest thing you ever seen. But there's a lot of people that actually have that outlook on things. They're like, "Well, I went to the gym for 2 weeks. Why haven't I not lost any weight?" And it's like, you're not gonna. It takes more than 2 weeks of going to the gym and doing some moderate exercise to lose weight. You gotta be patient with those things.
And we see it in the pain side too, not just like gaining muscle or losing fat, but like when it comes to like pain and injuries. And if you have like chronic shoulder pain and you go to a physical therapist, but you've had this pain for like 10 years, and now you're starting to get treatment, and it's 3 months later and it's feeling better, like 50% better, like 50 to 80%, but it's still there. All of a sudden it's the PT's fault. It's like, no, you've had this pain for 10 years and never had it addressed. You don't just fix things.
I feel like you're speaking to
overnight.
me. I feel like this whole entire conversation, you're speaking to me.
So earlier you touched on it, and you said you were talking about how people have been cleared. They've lost the weight and been cleared, but they still have the pain. Can you touch a little bit more on that and how that works on your end?
So insurance with physical therapy is a very interesting thing, because typically there's two different pieces to it. The first one is if you go to an insurance-based PT, the insurance company also has physical therapists on staff to monitor and record everything that's being sent to them from the PT that you see. So if you have shoulder pain, for example, and they assess the shoulder, they see how the shoulder is moving, and they're like, okay, we're going to be going through this protocol, which is a traditional protocol that you typically get from a PT school. They send that to the PTs at the insurance company, they review it, and they accept it. Okay, we're going to pay this. There's a certain time frame that it's allotted. It's either like 3 to 4 months or a certain amount of sessions, depending on the insurance company. And then after that period, you have to be cleared, or they just are not going to pay the PT. The other side of that is, let's say your shoulder issue is not actually from your shoulder. Let's say your hips are rotated because you had an ankle injury a long time ago and it changed your gait. Now your pelvis is in a different position and it changes the rotation of your spine. So now your rib cage isn't moving as correctly as it should be, so your shoulder blades aren't synced up. And now you have this chronic wear and tear of your rotator cuff because it's overworking based on what happened a long time ago from an ankle injury changing your gait. So now we have this more complex system of pain and movement patterns. And that's the stuff that I do. I take a look at the complex system, address what's happening locally so that we can utilize, like, if it's the hips, if it's the feet, if it's the core stabilization, if the rib cage isn't moving correctly, we can address all of it. Whereas a PT with insurance is not able to. If they send hip work to the insurance company, the PTs will not clear it. So they won't get paid, so they don't do it. That's one reason why a lot
So
of
if the
PTs went cash based.
So if the shoulder's hurting, you can only work on the shoulder.
Yep.
That's bull crap.
So
Yeah.
you'd have to go in with shoulder, low back, and hip pain, and have each one specifically clarified, and then have the session be specifically for one of the three.
So can I just come in and say I hurt from head to toe, and then you just figure it out what it really is?
That's what I'm here for. But it's really funny to see how many more PTs and strength coaches back up. It's funny to see how many more PTs are moving away from the insurance side and going cash based. But now there's a lot of physical therapists that also have their CSCS. So they're strength conditioning coaches and physical therapists. So they look at complex systems, develop the periodization strategy out of pain, and then get you back into performance. So they look at this whole entire time frame. So those are really good ones to know.
Now, talking about injuries, so when we first started in the gym, I had actually, so I was at my biggest, and as you know, sometimes when you're at your biggest, you also don't have flexibility, mobility, stability, all that fun jazz, and I broke my foot in 2 places and tore 2 tendons, and so I was in a walking boot when we first started, and it was just because I'm clumsy. That's all it was. I broke it getting out of my car. Didn't trip, just stepped like a normal person steps. It was just a straw that broke the camel's back. But that's how, when we started, I was in that, and at first I was like, I can't do anything because I broke my foot. And so my point being is, what would you say to somebody that is injured, broken their foot or broken their leg or whatever, that they still need they're wanting to get in better shape, getting healthier? What would you say about them working around it? Or you get what I'm trying to ask?
Yep, I feel you. So let's talk specifically to your case as an example, because it's really common when someone has like a broken foot or injured knee, they don't want to do anything because they think that everything the leg involves that. So number one, strength training is typically king when it comes to any type of change that you're looking for. Whether it's mental performance, if it's physical performance, if it's body composition, strength training has to be involved. Let's say the foot is injured. There are exercises that you can do to train the leg that does not involve having your foot planted on something. So doing like a leg extension or a leg curl, doing a kickback with the strap connected to your ankle instead of having your foot planted on something. There's ways to move around the problem. Then the other side, just because one side's injured doesn't mean you can't train the other. Yeah. So if the right foot's injured, you should still train the left leg. Do a single leg squat. Do a rear foot elevated split squat so you don't have pressure on the other foot. Do machine-based work single-sided so you can load the stronger side and keep that working and keep it growing, because there actually is translation to the other side. If you're focusing on strength is a nervous system thing. If you're training the nervous system, your whole entire body gets an effect. So you can still do stuff. And then when it comes to upper body stuff...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
If you're doing upper body stuff and you're worried about planting your foot like for a bench press or something like that, then do a seated bench, like seated machine press, or a chest row where your foot isn't actually digging into something. There are a lot of different exercises that you can use that can avoid whatever the problem is. If you have one bum shoulder, you can still do a pull down with one arm. Maybe you can't do a pull up, but that's okay. You have one arm, that's still good. And there's other ways that you can use straps and cables to your advantage.
One thing that tactical trainer had told me, he was like, "You show me an injury, I'll show you a way around it." The just kind of exactly what you were saying on that, and that's really because about a month prior to us going to the gym, I had went to my first class doing that, and I was still dealing with my foot, and he had said that, and that was part of my motivation. It was like, you know what, you're right. That's not an excuse for the rest of my body's okay. It's just only difference is if I let that be my excuse, we'll always, if it's important, we'll find a way. If it's not, we'll find excuses all day long.
Exactly. I love that.
So
That is a great way to say it.
what if you're a power lifter and you have an umbilical for a friend?
Get it treated and make sure that you learn how to control your abdominal pressure.
You know how he got his abdominal hernia from spotting me.
Yeah,
From spotting.
He
I
bent.
wasn't even lifting. Yeah, I bent over to spot him in it.
So you essentially did do the lift and
Yeah.
Or he didn't even touch the weight
I
yet.
hadn't even touched. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I hadn't
just
even
him when
touched the weight.
whenever he went to bend down, he felt that pop. Like he hadn't even
No
touched
kidding.
the weight yet. Yeah. So,
It had apparently been a pre-existing issue that I was not aware of. So
but he was
Got it,
also
and then it
lifting
just-
like.
yeah.
So
I was
whenever
I was
something
being
like that
stupid,
does
and I
happen-
was lifting heavy, and
Gotcha. Okay. So whenever something like that happens, like the belt's for developing intra-abdominal pressure, right? That's why we use it. That's why we deadlift and squat with it, all that stuff. There is a purpose to lifting heavy without the belt so that you can train your intrinsic subsystem of your core to act as that corset, so you're not using a different device in order to do it for you. I saw this a lot with athletes to where they used it because they're used to it. They want to utilize it for other lifts, like if they're squatting, doesn't matter if it's their warm-up, they're using it to engage pressure. But if you don't know how to do it yourself without a belt, it becomes a lot harder to manage it outside of lifting. So umbilical hernia, if you're used to utilizing something else to develop pressure, and then you're going throughout your day-to-day stuff, even if it's like bending forward to pick something up, there could be a mismanagement of pressure. I saw people getting injured from picking a pencil up off the ground.
right.
It happens.
Now I have a kind of a stupid. It may not be a stupid question, but because you were talking about like having a shoulder injury due to. So I have a lot of low back problems, and I feel like I have what's known as anterior pelvic tilt or what. Would that have?
There's a few different ways to look at it. If before you had anterior pelvic tilt, you had poor core stability, then possibly. So a weak core can create a change in pelvic position. If you've learned how to adjust your pelvic position, so you understand how to do a hip tuck, but your general anatomy size, just general size, is harder to maintain a neutral pelvis. The more weight you have in front, the harder it is to maintain a tucked under position. Just like how women that have a big behind, it's the same thing. They have a hard time tucking under because there's too much mass. It's just how the body compensates to move around the center of mass, right? So it's not advertently a problem unless there is a weakness within the system. So you can have anterior pelvic tilt and not have lower back pain, as long as you understand how to manage pressure within the system. If you're trying to manage pressure by pushing, and now you're getting this outside pressure, but you're in an anterior pelvic tilt, it's almost like blowing up a balloon and then squeezing one side of it. What's going to happen? You blow out the other side.
Right.
So that's how umbilical hernia is, like how you can think about it happening. You just have that position. So instead of creating this good amount of pressure and creating a barrel, you've created a balloon. And we want to make sure we
That
don't
does make
pop it
sense.
by stacking everything correct.
Okay.
So
Does that make
on
sense?
where you were talking about the belt becoming a crutch, is it the kind of the same principles of like those people that, and I'm guilty of this, hence the ankle injury, people that wear ankle braces when they run and all that stuff, and you train your body to rely on it. It's kind of the same principle.
100%. I know. I've had a lot of clients that have had knee injuries, all that stuff, and they got used to wearing a brace around. These tools are used to just help keep things in line when there's weakness involved. But in order to strengthen it, you have to move without it.
Right.
So if there's
Not become
a
dependent.
weakness, the best way to get stronger is by not using something that you're relying on. If you're trying to train a squat and be stable, you shouldn't do it assisted. That part is common sense to it. The part that's not, what tools to use in order to improve your strength. A place where that kind of comes into place. I'm guessing you guys have like your own toolboxes with a metric crap ton of tools.
Yeah.
Every tool inside of that toolbox can be a different exercise. There's a ton of them. Every single like head to a screwdriver, every different type that you could put on is a different variation of that exercise. You have a bench press, you have a hips off bench press, you could do a dumbbell chest press, you could do a hips off bench single arm dumbbell chest press. There are so many variations to a single pattern that you can do that are each different variations of a tool. Which variation is going to be best to stabilize the system that has a weakness? And that's where testing is involved. That's where like having a strength coach, having a physical therapist, having someone to monitor and see what's happening so that the right program can be done in order to get stronger and get out of that problem. That's what we're here for, is to make sure that the right
That makes
a lot more in
tools are
depth
being
than I
used.
thought.
That makes a lot of sense, because I think that is especially. So he's powerlifted for a while, and I'm only a year and a half into the gym. So a lot of what I've learned is just from doing or from learning from him. But I notice a lot of people that are in my like about the same place as me. You just do what you see, and so you're like, oh, you're gonna do flat bench press, and that's all you do, and then you're gonna do military press, or you're gonna whatever it is. You get comfortable doing that same thing instead of incorporating all the variation exercises like you were talking. And it's just mostly because we don't know. It's hard relying on YouTube University for most things, you know.
Yeah, and it's wild. That's why I have my Instagram, is so that I can share a lot of stuff that people don't see. And that's the side of being a strength coach, but also understanding the pain side that we could play with. So one of my new goals is actually to do a couple powerlifting competitions, because I just want to see if I can, and see how that works out for me. But I want to give an example for bench press and managing pressure that works really well. So if you're talking about managing pressure in different types of systems, let's say you're doing a bench press, I always like to think about setting up a golf swing. You start with your feet, plant the feet, drive the hips up, get a contraction there, pull up to the bar, get a good strong position with your back and your shoulder blades before lifting off the rack. If you take a look at every single step, so the feet, the hips, the shoulders, and then you have the load, think about what exercises you can use for that. So earlier I mentioned a hips off bench version of a bench press. So if you're not as stable with your core and your hips, or driving your feet into the ground so that your whole body is being used, your whole posterior chain, then you can do that variation so you're not relying on the bench anymore. Now you can create tension through your whole posterior chain in order to create more power for your chest press. Another one that you can use, if it's abdominal pressure that's missing and you have this contralateral or cross fascial pattern that's weak, you could do a hips off bench single arm double chest press really heavy, like 4 reps, to where it will force you to feel like you're rotating and tearing back, but you have to keep yourself in perfect alignment while pressing this heavy dumbbell with one hand while your hips are off the bench. So now you have all of this tension through your posterior chain.
Like that.
You have your back strong and stable, and now your core has to work and manage pressure, or else that dumbbell's ripping you off the bench. There's a lot of really cool tools just through exercises with simple things like dumbbells and kettlebells that you can utilize in order to improve these major lifts, but also for everyone that does these lifts to live healthier and be happier day to day and not have pain. There's a lot of stuff for all of that.
Not just getting big and bulky, but becoming functional.
Exactly. Being a functional athlete, being an everyday athlete.
See, that's my goal. I'm down about 60 pounds in about a year and a half. But my goal is I just want to be able to go out and run with my kids and not be afraid to get hurt, which I'm there now. But just I want to be able to do the shit that I want to be able to do. Go hiking, go do whatever, and just be all around healthy. That's my all-time goal. I don't care about being a big power brick house, but just that being able to utilize all those different exercises. I think we're going to be doing some research after this on all different exercises to improve all these things.
I have definitely gained size and strength at the expense of my mobility.
Did you know how well strength training can be used to increase mobility?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So that's the fun part. That's
Because I have
to look into that as well.
I like to say it's some of the new stuff coming out, but it's been around for a long time. If you follow a lot of the strength coaches or like the science guys on Instagram that are all around fitness, you'll see like the full range of motion or the lengthened partials guys. The reason why this stuff works is because of how far apart the active proteins of the muscle tissue are, and there's more damage that happens, so there's more potential to increase protein synthesis, increasing muscle mass, stuff like that. But if you think about mobility, like hip mobility, if your adductors are tight, what is the best way to increase mobility? Strengthen it through the full range of motion. So you could do a lateral squat with a dumbbell, heavy loaded, slow eccentric, in order to train that adductor to understand how it can be loaded in a very long position. And it learns. That's what strength training is for. It's neurological. It's a lot of the central nervous system talking to the muscle tissue so it can learn how it can be long, how it can be strong, how it can be explosive. That's what strength training is for. So you can strength train in these excessive ranges of motion, except if you have hypermobility. I do have to say that because I have hypermobility. If you strength train in these excessive ranges of motion, you can improve your mobility incredibly and maintain it if you continue to work on that without excessive volume. So, for example,
I found out the limits of my mobility not that long ago. So like I said, I was a gymnast, and so I thought, although it's been 18 years, since I was a gymnast, but I'm pretty flexible. Well, I had never done the leg abductors. We call them good girl, bad girls. But anyways, I had never done them, and I got stuck in them, and I wasn't very far apart. I was like, I need your help right now. Because I got stuck in them.
Yeah, you wasn't even
that
far.
Good girl, bad girls are good. It's a good exercise, honestly. It's a really useful machine. I stick a lot of people on it.
I'd never done them before until that day, and actually, believe it or not, and this is weird coming from me.
Isn't it great? It really is an incredibly useful machine.
Now,
have you ever done it hip off the bench? So if you think about the position, there's 3 different ways that you can do it. You could do it seated normally. You can do it leaning forward, so you get a lot more glute max activation. Or, I don't know if I'll be able to pop on the screen. You're like lift it up and you're driving your hips forward and you're pressing straight out to the side. So you're getting your glute medius targeted instead. So you can do standard, just normal sitting, and that'll get kind of everything, just not a lot of one, not a lot of another. Lean forward, ton of glute max. Lean back and drive the hips into the air to where you're doing a hip extension, and then drive the knees out, and you get a ton of side butt. And if you have some hip stability issues, that's a great one.
Well, I can honestly say, in the realm of the glutes, those are the last things I need to train.
We call them Jim Kardashian.
My wife calls me Jim Kardashian because I have a lot of cake.
It's just about that cake.
The Lord blessed me with the cake.
And I'm his opposite. I look like a frog standing up.
Oh my god.
So
essentially you make a lot.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll trade you, and he's like, no.
If I could just take some of that cake and like form it into, the thigh area, my thigh's a little wider, I'd be all right with that. But.
Right now, you're painting this beautiful picture of just cake and just twigs.
He's not that bad.
Yeah, birthday cake right now, upside down.
On a couple toothpicks.
See, have you ever seen that cartoon? Have you ever seen that cartoon, Johnny Bravo?
Oh yeah.
That's the kind of legs that I have, unfortunately. But I'm working on it. Yeah.
I could definitely use a little bit more
Just
quad
do it.
action, but they're not like they're.
But the one thing is we're constantly that's been the kind of exciting thing about us being in the gym this past year and a half is we're constantly learning and we're adapting and we're incorporating all these different things, and from everybody that we've talked to, you included, like we're learning so much and trying to incorporate all of this stuff to essentially make ourselves better in the long run. And I think that it's really great having people like you coming on the podcast, because there's so many people, like our target audience is people like us, and that's why we're not where we want to be, but we're
Not where we used to be.
we're not even close to where our goals are, but we're documenting the journey and having people that I feel like we live in a world full of Instagramification, you know, where they see these perfect bodies, and it's just showing people that, hey, we're just two normal guys and we're learning things. We don't know everything, and that's why we've built up this network and bringing people like you on that. This is your guys' meat and potatoes, and so it's so interesting learning all these different things, and I really think that it will be really beneficial for people in the long run. But there's so much stuff that we learn every single day, and it's exciting for us.
I love that. I find like your purpose behind this podcast incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
It's really useful.
I appreciate that. It's
And like I just appreciate you guys having me on. I
Oh,
love
we-
this.
No problem.
We were
appreciate you
yeah,
coming.
we definitely appreciate you coming on. I've been talking to him about it all day long, and I'm like, oh, because we've had so many people, like, so we're booked all the way through like August right now. It's just been crazy, but so I've been going back through, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot he does this too, and then whenever I seen everything that we had talked about, I was like, I'm really excited to pick your brain and share what you do, and I think that it will just, I think there's a lot of people that this information will help. And that's at the end of this.
100%.
I know that for most of my adult life, I hadn't had that. And so, like, I know that if I was craving that kind of information and that kind of motivation and inspiration, that there has to be other people out there. So that's our big goal, is just to help the other fat men, you know? We always say we're the original fat men. So
Yep.
we and then also, if you're on the podcast, just to let you know, you're officially a fat man. So we appreciate you being here. we took back the moniker, because Fat Man stands for
Fat Man Gianni.
Fat Man stands for fuck around, train, maintain discipline, adapt and overcome, and never quit. That's what the Fat Man stands for. So
I love that.
you're officially a fat man.
That is brilliant.
So,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm
oh,
happy to be a
absolutely.
fat man.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to get you a Fat Man shirt and get it. We'll get your information. Get one sent to you.
Rammed on there.
Yeah, because we have a whole entire product line. It just launched.
We have
this week.
we have a store that hasn't quite launched to the public, but it's coming close.
So we have about 60 different shirts. So we'll get your information. We'll get you one sent.
That is phenomenal. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I
So,
want to check out that store. I want to see everything you got.
so in the realm of what you do for a living, talking to the people watching this podcast, what are some of the things that you see that a lot of beginners do that are mistakes?
Trying to do too much.
He's talking to me again.
There's so.
He knows you.
It's like we've
I was
talked
gonna
before.
say, even from the example from the ankle, and then you had the broken foot. It's like, yep, okay, here we go. So, I see a lot of people just starting off try and do something that is on par to what a bodybuilder is gonna do. That level of volume is something that you build up to over 10 plus years of training. We see beginners getting the best bang for their buck with 2 to 3 resistance training workouts, about an hour long each, so 2 to 3 hours a week, and that gains about the same amount of muscle mass as if they were to do like 5 days split. So we typically do about 2 to 3 total body resistance training days per week is how we structure it. People that just start want to go 100%. They're incredibly excited to get this started, get the process going, and they want to do something every day. And a structure does have to be followed. And I do agree that having that type of regimen is smart, so that you build up the consistency and you build up the reps of just going in. But there has to be a difference between going hard and recovering.
Right.
So if you go hard 3 of those days, take the 2 days in between and do something that's more lower intensity, a very light intensity cardiovascular session or a stretching and mobility session. You don't have to lift every single time you walk into a gym, especially for beginners. There should only be about 5 exercises for beginner unless you're doing pain work and have a designated specific thing that you have to do. But if you're going in for strength, 4 to 5 exercises for resistance training. There's 6 different patterns. I think about 7 different patterns of movement, to where you have squat, you have your unilateral lower body work, you have your hinge based movements, you have your upper pressing, your vertical and horizontal, upper pulling, vertical, horizontal, and then what I call bracing. So any type of farmer carries, planks, anything like that goes into that category.
Okay.
So if you take a look at those movement patterns, then you can pick 4 or 5 of those movement patterns to do. And now you have a total body workout, 3 days per week. You have all of your bases covered. If you feel like you have less of a chest but a much bigger back, then do less upper pulling than upper pushing. But to protect the shoulder, just make sure that it's at least equal. If you have a good chest but you need more back, do more upper pulling than upper pushing. It's a very easy way to be like, okay, these are the patterns. I'll pick 5 of those, and that's my workout for Jan. Cool.
Okay.
Keep it simple. Pick machines or dumbbells to start. You don't have to do barbell. It's way too complex for a lot of beginners anyway. If you want to do barbell work, ease into it.
That's kind of how we start. That's
Yeah.
how we.
Just a pipe or a barbell. Very light. Get the movement pattern down. That's why I structure it that way. If you learn by the pattern, you'll be in less pain moving forward. If you do it by the muscle group, you'll have a lot more pain moving forward, because you haven't figured out the balance between these. So
sense.
start simple, pick an easy structure, and then just knock those things off the list. Just a few at a time. 2 to 3 sets, 8 to 12 repetitions. Standard.
I had somebody so we have the Fatman Project TikTok channel, and I had somebody that had written a comment about beginners and stuff, and how to get what if they struggle with motivation, and it kind of touches on what you had said. I had made a video that said, go to the gym for 30 minutes for 30 days. Just walk for 30 minutes. You may not get a whole bunch of gains out of that walk, but you know what you did do? You build a habit, and after you get that habit, you built that motivation. Now you can build the discipline. You've built up discipline, so now you can start focusing and adding a little bit more each time, because it's not about going in there balls to the wall. Like I said, I've been a funny story about that.
When I was stay in the gym with me.
But whenever I was at my very biggest, I did the thing that I would for my whole entire military career. I would 5 or 6 weeks out from my PT test, I would do the same thing that I always did. I would run. Literally, I would just run, do push-ups and sit-ups but I would go to the extreme, like to the max that my body was even capable of doing. And it worked out until I was at my biggest. I'd never been that big and tried to do that, but I went the same hardness as I had done previously, and I blew out my knee within the first week, because I went too hard. Because exactly what you said, beginners, we like to go, we're gonna do this, we can do this, and I'm hard-headed. So
Oh yeah, especially I find it's an interesting thing to look at for people that used to be fit and then go back into it versus people that have never done it before. But both of them are beginners at that new state, right? Just like you were saying, you used to do all this stuff, you used to do it to the max, and then your body changed. You got bigger, and then you tried to do it again at the same intensity. What's going to happen? Boom. Out.
And then I was like, my knee, like I had like severe tendonitis, and it was swollen and all this. That hurt worse than my ankle break, honestly. Like it was terrible. Like I couldn't walk. It was terrible, because I went too hard, too fast. But I think that's really great that you touched on that, because I think that's probably a very, very common thing.
It is incredibly common, and it's scary. That's why I don't really work out in public gyms anymore.
He did the same thing whenever
It's harder for me to see stuff like that.
when he started going to the gym with me for the first time.
Oh.
He said he had never really stepped foot in the gym, and I'd been lifting and stuff.
And I don't know if you can tell the size difference in the video. He's substantially bulkier than I am.
Just a little bit.
So he came in, and I told him, I said,
I can see whose glutes are bigger, though.
Yeah.
just bouncing on him. I told him, I said, you need to find out, what. So everything that he would, every time he'd pick up a weight, he'd see me try to
My
match.
bravado
He would try to match me on reps and weight. I'm like, don't do that.
And then I couldn't wash my hair. Then, like I remember that first weekend after, like I went to take a shower and I had to like push my elbow up against the shower wall just to wash my head. I was like, this is miserable.
He messaged me the next day, and he was like, dude, I am so sore. This fucking sucks. He was like, I am miserable right now.
It was
I told you, dude, you gotta dial it back a little bit. He was like, yeah, you were right.
I learned my lesson. And you know what? For that, probably the first 6 months, I didn't push I challenged myself, but it wasn't pushing my limits. How much could I lift? And now, even now, I don't lift heavy often. Like I lift at like maybe 80% max. That's between, and that how we kind of structured our workout, because our goals they went from being the same to being different a little bit. So he's in charge of Mondays and Wednesdays, which is more heavy strength based, and then I take care of Tuesdays, Thursdays, which is more hypertrophy based. And so that way we kind of get a happy balance and stuff, because we're not disciplined enough to go by ourselves. It works out that
I need adult supervision.
Yeah. Because we realized very early on that so if we make a commitment, we'll stick with it. But if he doesn't show up, I won't show up either. Because I'll be like, nobody's gonna know. But then I end up feeling like shit about it. But we found out that having that accountability partner, it helps. Like that's the only reason why we're still at it. And we think we have a number one rule in the gym, and our number one rule is don't be a bitch.
Don't be a bitch.
And so what we mean by that is, it's really simple to not go to the gym. You bitch out. It's really, really simple to bitch out. And so if I'm like, hey man, I'm not going to be there today because of this bullshit reason, he's like, you're being a bitch right now.
It's a whole lot easier to make this than it is to make progress.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I love that. Your number one rule. Okay, don't be a bitch. Yep. Okay. Yep. Got it. Okay.
That's how we end the podcast.
We actually have that on our shirts too. Yeah. that we make.
Yeah. Number one rule: don't be a bitch. Yeah. And that's how we end our podcast. That. We're like, don't be a bitch.
But I feel like a lot of people, kind of getting back onto what we were talking about a minute ago, I feel like a lot of people do that in the beginning. Like they'll go to the gym and they'll push too hard, or they'll try to keep up with somebody that they know or somebody that they see all the time, and they wear themselves out, and then they're sore, and then they're like, well, I don't know if this gym shit's for me because this hurts it, and then they tend to fall off the wagon. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen from a lot of new people, is they come in, like you were saying, trying to do too much too fast, and they burn themselves out, and then they don't go back. And then all that, not progress necessarily, but potential.
That first, I would say 3 months of someone just starting training is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Not just because of like developing the habit, but if you think about physiologically, like how much is on the table in that first time block.
Oh yeah.
You can build a lot of strength, or what we call like realizing the strength, and realizing your actual muscle mass capabilities during that first time frame.
Yeah.
And if you have a plan that you understand is going to work, you believe it's going to work, that first 3 months is incredible to what you can do. This is actually an extreme case. She has never lifted before in her life, period. Never touched iron, but would always do like some Pilates or like home workouts, like little 9-minute hit stuff. And she came in, started working out with us because she wanted to get wedding ready. I don't know what switch flipped in her, but she was like, I want to get good at deadlifts, like trap bar deads, because that was a part of our program. I was like, all right, let's see what you got. So we started like doing slow progress just to see where she was at. And she kept having this interesting ability to get stronger every single week. Past 3 months, it never stagnated. And
It's awesome.
we looked at a 6-month time frame, and I was like, okay, in 6 months, what do you want to be able to hit? She was like, 300 pounds. I was like, you want to be able to trap bar deadlift 300 fucking pounds? Yes. Get me there, coach. I'm like, all right. So I gave her a free month if she was able to hit 300.
Hell yeah.
She was 4 months, or not 4 months, 4 weeks early on our goal. Hit 305 pounds on the trap bar deadlift
Wow.
for 2. She gained so much strength. Her body is naturally proportioned for strength training. But great lever angles, great ankle mobility, great hip mobility, great intra-abdominal pressure, no belt, raw. All she had was, but not like wrapping around the bar. She just covered her calluses.
Yeah.
That's it. Remarkable. And that was 9 months into training.
Wow.
Never touched a barbell.
See, it's
She has natural strength. And now she's been training with us for about a year and 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just continued to transition because once she hit that goal, if you think about consistently doing the same thing over and over again, repeatedly at high volumes to hit a specific goal, and you continue to do that afterwards, what's going to happen? Your likelihood for getting injured goes up.
Right.
So after that, we transitioned goals to pull-ups. She was never able to do a pull-up before. What was it? Last week, she finally hit 6 full
awesome.
body weight pull-ups, overhand grip, no assistance.
Awesome.
that's awesome.
Just straight up.
See, I relate.
So
to
we've
her.
been able to, right?
Yeah.
So she's been able to like understand what needs to happen, have faith in the process, and then executes the plan. She doesn't do anything on top of it. If she has a hard time recovering, she takes a light day, but she still does the workout. She still goes in to do it. She is just very great at executing the plan,
She's very adept. To
and
her-
she will get
her
whatever
body, it
goal
sounds
she
like.
has.
See,
Yeah.
it's crazy what you're
So she's-
capable of
She's
whenever
a
you get your
sales
mind
manager.
right. Oh, I said
didn't
it's
quite hear
crazy.
that.
I said it's crazy what you're capable of once you get your mindset on something. Like it, I think that so often and I've been guilty of this, and I think that a lot of people are guilty of this, not just in the gym, but just in life. We put boundaries on ourselves, and I can't do that. Like, I don't know how many times that I've struggled with my weight that I said I can't do that. Up until a year and a half ago, I had been to the gym before, but I would always walk up to the weight room, and I'd see all these big, massive guys, and I'd get those gym jitters, and I'd be like, I can't do that. I'm going to look like foolish, or whatever it is, whatever the reason may be. We put so many boundaries on what our capabilities are, but once you finally open up and allow yourself to really explore your capabilities, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish.
Yeah, it's amazing how much confidence people get if they were always hesitant to do something like that, and then they just do it.
Mm-hmm.
They go in, they do it for the first time, and you will see dramatic changes in how they hold themselves.
Not just physically.
And then as it becomes consistent, it completely changes their personality. They've just become consistent at something that they were always nervous about doing.
Yeah, I feel like physical progress.
It's phenomenal.
Physical progress has more of a mental impact than it.
We actually talk about this all the time.
Yep.
So prior to, just in the time that we went to the gym and losing that weight, one, you feel better. You know, you're not as tired. You have a little more motivation and more energy and all that stuff. But two, I have accomplished more in the past year and a half in my professional career, and all the goals that we've set out, I've accomplished more in a year and a half than I have in the past 10 years. And I directly relate that to getting the discipline and the motivation and building that confidence in myself just from going to the gym. Like it has an all-around effect, and it affects not just my mental capabilities, but also it affects all aspects of my life, my family, my job, everything, you know. And so yeah, it's crazy what just starting to focus on the right things and being a little healthier can do for the rest of your life. And we always like to say, like, I think that, at least speaking from my experience, so often at the beginning, you know, we set these goals of, I want that beach bod, you know, or I want that perfect physique or whatever. That's our goal that we're looking for. But we forget, well, what about the short-term goals? You know, small wins turn into big wins. You know, if you, what's my goal for this week? What's my goal for the next month? What's my goal for the next 3 months? And I think that at least looking at my track record, that was one thing that I had left out until the year and a half that I've been in the gym. And that was, I don't know what changed or what switched to my brain, but I'm glad it did.
Reality.
Yeah, I just knew something had to change. And the thing is what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I just knew I needed to make a change. But yeah, it's just crazy what we're capable of if we actually allow it.
It's really true. Yeah.
So kind of wrapping up a little bit, like we had talked about, our whole purpose behind this whole Fatman project, who are like us, who, you know, were at one point not where they wanted to be in life, and they don't know where to start, they don't know what to do, and they don't have the knowledge to get on the right path. What would you tell somebody who's just
if they're just starting on their fitness journey? I would say one of the best things to do is to reach out to a local professional. Either that, or if they follow someone that they trust online that speaks directly to them. Mm-hmm. If they're like, this is for beginners, this is for someone who might have been an athlete in the past but haven't worked out in the past 10 years because they've started a family and they haven't been able to, reach out to those people first, because they're directly speaking to you as a potential client. One. Secondly, if you find someone that's local, like in the gym that you're at, a professional, not someone lifting, but the professional working there, they can guide you. A lot of people just need to ask for help. They just never get around to doing that because it makes them look like they're not as confident in that space. I saw that a lot when I was working in more public gyms, is no one would come up and ask for help unless I literally went up to them and was like, hey, I noticed you were doing this. Do you need help with your form? And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you could have asked me ahead of time.
Yeah.
I coach here 12 hours a day.
People get so scared.
So, people are so scared to just ask for help. But that is one of the biggest things that you can do as a beginner. Until you know exactly what you're doing, ask for help or ask for guidance. And even at that point where you do know, or you think you know everything, there are still things that you don't know.
Yeah,
exactly.
So continue to ask and continue to question what's going on.
Right.
Kind of how I run, and I think this is applicable, kind of how I run my business is, I always heard that if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a different room. So once you get to the point where you are capable and you know you've hit the max of your intellectual capabilities, well, that's the time that now you need to find a different room. You need to find a place where there's people that are more educated and more versed on what your goals are, and that's the only way that we're going to continue to grow and continue to develop as a person. But
I in no way, shape, or form know everything, or even close to everything when it comes to fitness. But I've been in the gym long enough that I know what I'm capable of. I know the proper form. I know the proper techniques. I know the sizes to hit different muscle groups, that kind of thing. But even then, even with that kind of knowledge, I am still always looking to other people for either in better shape than I am, like in your position, when you have degrees and an extensive background, or even people that are in the gym who've been there longer than me. Just reaching out to them, hey, if you guys have advice, throw it my way. I'm always eager to learn.
Yeah, we are not too proud
and
for advice.
I was gonna say, even me in this field, do you know how many conferences there are on a monthly basis to keep people like me who've been in it for over 10 years continue learning from other professionals? Everyone's finding something new every single day.
Yeah. It's about always growing.
Even something that might have worked 5 years ago, it still works today because human bodies don't really change that much. We don't evolve really quick at all.
Yeah.
But there's still like, is something working better? Do we realize that this like theory was not as correct as we thought and something changed? Is this exercise a great exercise, but we've been coaching it wrong? Or we've been coaching it for a specific reason and got comfortable in that because it's what we normally see. And now we found a new way to coach it, just talking about the squat, like talking about spreading your feet to increase glute tension. What if that's not the thing that they need, but that's what you're cueing?
Yeah.
That's something that we need to be like, okay, we need to backtrack and recognize that everything that comes out of our mouth as a coach has a purpose. But there's a lot of people, like trainers and coaches, that get comfortable saying specific things while coaching. The best athlete has a coach.
Yep.
That coach has a coach. It will always have a cycle like that.
Yeah.
So if you think you're the 100 absolute best person at doing something, then you haven't met the other person.
I don't know if this is an old reference from my grandpa's age, but and I have a point of saying this. So Chet Atkins, back in the 60s, he was nominated as the greatest guitar player of all times, and they recognized him on the Grand Ole Opry. And whenever he was giving a speech, he said, I'm just the greatest known. There's always going to be somebody better out there. And that really applies to anything. You may be the top of your field, but there's always room for growth. And that's pretty much anywhere in life. There's always room for growth. Now to wrap this up, if anybody wanted to, so you like we had mentioned at the beginning, you are the founder of BioElite.
There you go.
BioElite, right?
Yep.
You're the founder of BioElite.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody wanted to reach out to you, or because we watched one of your videos before.
A couple of them.
Yeah, a couple of your videos right before this too. So if somebody wanted to find you online, where can they reach you?
Easiest place is going to be Instagram or Facebook. You can either search me by name, Gianni_Del Franco, so GIANNI_DEL FRANCO, or you can follow the business page, which is BioElite_fitness, so BIOELITE_FITNESS. Wow, that was almost bad. I couldn't spell fitness. That's close. Those are going to be the best places to reach out to us because we're very active on it. We message a lot of people every single day that have questions on exercises or something that they're doing that they just might need guidance on. And I also have a team of coaches that helps me out with any communications that's needed as well. If you have any questions, those are the best places to reach.
All right, and we'll make sure that we get your links too, and we'll add it to the video where people can find it in the description. But no, to anybody that's watching this, thank you for joining. And if you have a fitness story that you would like to share, or if you're a trainer or a coach or somebody in the industry that you have valuable information that you would like to share with the audience, we would love to share your story. We would love to share your experience. And thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. We like we always say, we're here because we want to help motivate and inspire you guys along our fitness journey, because we're far from where we want to be, but we want to take you along on this journey and let you know that if you get your mind right, and if you put in the hard work, that anything's possible. We're very grateful for this whole entire platform and for all the support that you've given us. If you want to find us, you can find us on Facebook at the Fatman Project or the Fatman community page, which the community page is specifically for you guys. You guys can share your weekly wins. You can share any valuable information that you would like to share with the group. it's a
share
great
recipes.
Yep, we have all kinds of stuff on there, so we'd love you to have you join us on there, and also find us on YouTube and TikTok at the Fatman Project or the Fatman Community on TikTok as well.
That's right.
But thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the support, and thank you, Gianni,
Gianni,
for being on the podcast. It's been a joy talking to you, and we hope to have you back again. And
there's so much more to talk about that we didn't cover.
We
I guarantee
Oh, there's so much to
So
talk
much.
about.
We
There's
could
always
go
more
into
to
the
talk
weeds
about.
with you, man.
I love it.
But
we could have a whole 6-hour podcast
oh
just
my
talking to
goodness!
you.
Oh yeah, it'd be a blast.
Easily.
Yeah.
But if
Excellent.
to close us out, do you have any last final words of wisdom that you would? It can be about anything. Words of wisdom that you would like to share with the community.
I just want everyone listening to stay consistent, keep doing what you're doing, and keep getting stronger.
100%.
365 days of consistency beats 75 days of hard. Is what somebody said, and I'll take that all day long. But I'm Mitch Lunsford,
And I'm Dustin. Good.
and this is the Fatman Podcast. All right, thanks, man. That was a great episode.
It was good.
That was awesome.